Okay, so now that we have our share configured, how do we make this share become accessible in our network? There are a couple ways that we can do this. One is we go to Active Directory and make the share available. Another is to use our from our server manager. We can click on the file and storage services, and that will open up our a different window that will allow us now to actually create shares and make this share become available on our network. So this is one way of doing it. So in shares, we can just right click in shares and click on new share. So we have a couple of shares already set up by default when we were configuring our Active Directory and installing Active Directory and promoting the server to a domain controller. By default, it set up a couple of shares. And this is our sales rep share that was configured, or that we added last week. So in our previous lab, I used Active Directory to actually add this share called sales rep. So the way I did that was to go into Active Directory. Let me go back into Active Directory users and computers. So one way of doing it, one way of adding this share is to go to the Active Directory users and computers and configure the share by right clicking here and then select new, and I can go share folder. Okay, and here I specify the name of the share and the network path. So that was the first way of doing it. The other way of doing it is to go to the Active Directory, to the server manager, go to the file sharing, click on shares, then we right click and then click on new share. Okay, so now it's asking, we have different options. We can do a quick share, advanced share, or we can share applications or NFS file share. So the share that we are configuring is the SMB share. Okay, it gives you a brief description of what the QuickShare is. It says that this basic profile represents the fastest way to create an SMB file share, typically used to share files with Windows-based computers, suitable for general sharing, etc., etc. And the advanced share will give you a little bit more addition with some additional features. So let's go to QuickShare and have a look and see how to configure this share quickly. So I can go here and click on select by volume, or I can type a custom path. In custom path, it allows us to browse and select the folder that we want to share. So I want to share this finance folder that I just set the permissions on. So this sharing is quite different from the NTFS permission. The NTFS permission is completely different. The NTFS permission is just setting the rights and access of who has what access, either by group or individual account. But the folder has not yet been advertised in the network, or is not yet available on the network as a share. So this is where the actual sharing part comes in. So now we have to go and specify which folder we want to share, and then we will be asked which how do we want this folder to get advertised in the network or become available on the network. So I'm going to select the folder I want to share. So the path is here, C Data Finance, and then I click on next. And the share name, I'm going to leave it as finance, because normally you will create a share name that is similar to the folder name that you're trying to share. You don't have to use the exact name. You can disguise the name to have a completely different meaning, or you can share it with you can add whatever you want to add here, or modify it to however you want it to look or appear on the network. You can give a description here. So share for finance department. It tells you that this is the location. This is actually where the folder is located, and remote path to share. So in order for the network, for any device on the network to access this share, this is what it will actually look like. It will be called share, and it's located on this device, which is SRVR 2019 G1. Okay, so anybody who wants to access the share, they can use this path and they'll be able to connect to it. We'll go ahead and click on next and leave the default settings as allow caching of shares. Click on next, and here it gives you the permission. Now, how is it seeing these permissions is because we have already set this permission in our previous settings when we were working with the permission. So it gives you a rundown of, say for example, Bob will be able to read and execute. Bob will be able to read, and the finance department will has modification or modify NTFS permissions on this folder. Okay, so you see that here it gives a different permission from what is assigned to the finance department. Now look at the permission at the bottom here, the very one down at the bottom. It says deny permission to Bob. What has been denied? The right access. And what does it apply to? It applies to this folder, all subfolders and files within this folder. Okay, so not just this folder alone, but it actually will traverse to all the other folders and files within this folder. So the inheritable permission from this folder will actually transition across to all the subfolders and files under this one folder. It gives you the option here also to customize the permission. Okay, and this is the screen that we had looked at prior when we were setting up the permissions. So we're not going to make any more changes here. We have already set up the NTFS permissions, and then we click on next, and it gives you a brief summary of how the share will be set up. So name of share, it gives it a description. It's an SMB share, meaning that it's a Windows share, and the server that is located, it is not currently clustered. Clustered meaning that if the share is available across multiple servers that's configured in a cluster. And this is the path where it's located on the server itself. So our local path is C data finance, and gives you a summary of a couple of other things. And then we click on, that's the last thing. We click on create, and it will create that share. So now that share becomes available on our network. Click on close, and we can see that now we have the share listed under our list of shares. Okay, so we have two shares now. We have the sales rep and we have the finance, and that's how you configure the share to now become available across our network and available in Active Directory.